Hey guys, it's Ben from Ben Stinson Films, and today I am going to show you how to build your very own gaming PC. I've been meaning to make this video for some time now due to the fact that many of you guys want me to show you how to, so now I will. Before this tutorial starts though, I have a bit of a disclaimer. All of the shots were me in a low light area trying to record me putting together a computer. I stabilized all the footage the best I could, but at times it could look a little wonky, so you've been warned. Other than that, let's jump right into it. So for this build, I am doing a new build that is more of a budget computer that can game really well. A video for this particular build will be out sometime in the future, but for now, this is how you build your very own computer. So most parts in general are pretty universal or at least similar, so follow along the best you can. To start off, what you want to do is pull out the motherboard and place it on top of its box. This makes it easier for accessibility. I usually start off with putting my CPU on the motherboard. Get the CPU out of its box and hold on to it. The motherboard will have a cap on the place where you want to put the CPU on, but don't take it off just yet. Lift the lever as seen here. On the motherboard, there's a little white dot at the corner of where the CPU goes. You want to line up the arrow on the CPU chip itself with the corner dot. Make sure to not touch the pins on the motherboard because they can bend easily and that would not be good. Softly drop the CPU in place and it should fit perfectly. You want to close the lid and push down the lever. It will take quite a bit of force to be able to get the lever down. Do not worry, this is normal. As long as the CPU is lined up, you can push the lever and lock it. End result should look something like this. Next, there are 4 holes that surround the CPU. These are for the CPU coolers. In this tutorial, I am using a stock Intel fan, but for other fans and coolers, they have instructions that come with them, but they are all pretty similar though. Place the fan down and push through the holes. Some will have the locks on them and you just do as instructed. For this one, you just turn them to lock them. With that, you can plug in the CPU fan where it is labeled CPU fan. Again, try not to bend any of the pins on the motherboard. After this, you can put the RAM in. As long as you have the correct RAM for the motherboard, everything will line up perfectly. When you're using 2 sticks of RAM, you want to do every other slot as seen here by unclicking the locks. Press the stick of RAM in and push down on both sides until the locks lock automatically. Do the same thing with the second stick and so on. Now you have the motherboard all set up for placement in the case, but before we do this, we are going to install the power supply. Take out the power supply and set aside. Get the case and unscrew the screws or clips, whichever there is, to take off the side panel of the case. Do the same thing for the other side. You can move around all the cables that come in the case to anywhere out of the way. These will come in later. Put the power supply in the bottom left corner and line up the screw holes with the screw holes in the case. Get the screws labeled as seen and screw in the power supply. Now get the motherboard tray that has all the ports on it and put it in the case as seen. Push on it until it pops in place. In the case, you will see these little standoffs everywhere. That is where you're going to put the motherboard and screw in. Depending on what size motherboard you have, you may need to screw in extra or take out some standoffs to make your motherboard fit properly. Place the motherboard in the case and line it up with the standoffs. Push it around ever so slightly to fit into the porthole tray that came with it. Get the screws and screw in the motherboard. You will see all the holes in the motherboard on where to screw. Before I put in the GPU, I will do the wiring. It's generally easier to wire without the GPU in the way. Get the 12-pin connector and plug it in here on the motherboard. Do the same thing with the CPU power plug. With the USB 3.0 plug, there will be some usually labeled on the motherboard. Plug that in. Some motherboards do not have this plug though. Just plug it into one that fits this port. Now get all the little wires from the case and you will plug them in at the bottom of the motherboard. All labeled most of the time. Retrack back to your motherboard manual if you cannot figure out which plug goes where. Once all the bottom plugs are done, you want to get your GPU. There will be 1 or 2 PCIe slots that will look something like this. On the outside of the case, there will be a little metal or plastic piece to take off according to where you will put your GPU. Take them off as instructed in the manual. Then you want to unlock the lock as seen here and place the GPU down and push until it makes the lock sound. You will hear a click. Screw in the GPU here and then get the PCIe power plug and plug it in at the top of the GPU. Some GPUs do not require power, so disregard this if that is you. For the storage, I have a hard disk drive, so what you want to do with these is find in the case where you place them. They usually have these trays that you can slide out and attach on the drive and then slide right back in. They're usually on the right side of the case. For the power cord, it will look like this. Same with the SATA cable from the motherboard box that will look like this. Sorry I didn't record this part, but you plug it in where the ports match and make sure everything is firmly in. With an SSD, it is similar but smaller areas for the drive, and you plug in the same power and SATA cords. Bend and move wires around as much as you want. Use force and push them in crevices until you have your liked cable management, or let them be free. Plug any extra case fans where it is labeled on the motherboard. Close the side panels, screw them back in, and power up the computer. To install Windows, you want to have a USB or an external disk drive that has Windows on it. Once the computer is turned on, it should automatically launch into setup if you have the device plugged in. If you do not have a Windows key, you can skip the product key part and purchase Windows later. It will still install Windows on your computer. Choose the storage device you want Windows on and let the setup run. Once Windows is installed, you want to go to your motherboard site and download any drivers needed. It should all be pretty straightforward. Sorry for not recording some of the specific installation of parts, but if you have any questions, comment below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Other than that, this brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more videos to come, and have a very nice rest of your day.